Head injuries can happen in almost every type of sport, resulting in concussion or brain trauma that can have serious long-term effects. That's why it's critically important to choose a doctor that specializes in brain injuries. Call Dr. Elizabeth Eversole at 469 726 2737 or go to her website, handmadehealth.com. That's handmadehealth.com.
Well, hello, everybody. Kenny Matthews, Billy Martin Jr. here on Balls to the Wall, episode number 24. My co-host, Billy Martin Jr., how are you doing today?
Well, with our recent news, I guess I could be doing a little bit better.
I understand. We'll get to that in a minute, but we do want to have you guys subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble and Anchor and Spotify, please. And we like your comments and suggestions. Always much appreciated. But just hit that little drop down there and subscribe to us. That's how we can get a little monetary pay here for this weekly pod that we love delivering to you guys. Also like us on our social medias, Twitter's, Facebook, obviously, Instagram. We appreciate that also. And hey, tell a friend, something we always say, hey, you can use this for your nightly walk. You can always listen to this when you're working out in the gym. I don't know if it'll motivate you or not, but guess it may depend on what time of the day it is. If you're a 5 a.m. workout guy, you might not want to listen to it then. But if you had a good day, tune us in. We'd appreciate it. I know that Billy and I, we love trying to get this with you guys. We try to get some topics that are relevant for you guys and we think you enjoy. And we're not going to just try to do the same old newspaper stuff that you hear every day from all these other different various media outlets. So yes, please listen to us and we will have some guests for you. I need to get with Billy this next week about trying to line up some guests for you in the future here. Spring around the air, and it looks like we may have a little extra time on our hands. We might need some guests to fill in a little fodder for us. Our first topic today, we got to talk about, I don't know if you want to call it a lockout. I mean, obviously the CBA comes to a screeching halt about 26 hours ago to this time. Yesterday, we've been talking about this for numerous months, and Billy, wow, oh wow.
Yeah, you're right. You can call it a lockout. You can call it a strike. I'm choosing to call it the strikeout because it's a big damn whiff by both sides. And, come on. Right now is not the time for this crap.
No.
Obviously, Commissioner Manfred does not have a feel for the game. We've discussed lots of things he's done that just shows he's not a baseball guy and never was. But dadgummit, man.
He's a hard attorney.
They wait till the last second on everything to actually negotiate and talk. Why not make mandatory meetings bi-weekly? Just say, all right, we're going to go with last year's deal one more time, but we're meeting every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 hours for the duration of the season until we get it done. Just force those two guys to sit together in a room, and I don't care if they sit and just give each other the finger for 3 hours. Do it, and maybe we'll get lucky and something will happen.
Well, Billy, think about this. December 1st is when this self-imposed lockout, whatever you want to call it, happened. We didn't meet again until January, 10th?
Yep.
Where did the 6 weeks go with Zoom, the way we're doing things, with technology being the way that they are? You don't have to go fly all these people in or whatever. Why weren't these conversations going on then?
Yeah, there's no excuse.
Knowing catchers and pitchers are supposed to report February 18th. You ran up against a whole lot of, I guess, media self-imposed deadlines. We kept saying we probably need to do it by this. We need to do it by this. And it took almost 3 months for Manfred to finally say, well, Monday is the drop dead day. He finally had to come out and say Monday's the drop dead day. Last Friday, I think it was, or Saturday. I can't remember the exact day. Where was this urgency beforehand? And then, well, the players to say that they were not coming to the table to negotiate. Why did they not want to have this moderator twice? They voted against it twice. I mean, if
everybody's got to be tough guy. Everybody's got to be tough guy, Kenny. They all want to walk in there. We're not giving. We're not going to give an inch. And it's so counterproductive. That's why I say let's just force them together. And because all it does is hurt the game. Baseball's already in third behind football and basketball. It used to be the number one sport in our country, and it's not any longer. So, you don't hear about the other sports striking, locking out, striking out. It's a bunch of crap, and they've got to figure it out, because during this pandemic, what's been going on, this is absolutely the worst time to do this in the history of the game.
I think you make an excellent point. The timing could not be any worse, considering the fact that we've already had two interrupted seasons already. With spring training last year because of COVID, the year before, obviously, the 60-game season, due to COVID. I mean, don't get me wrong, 2020 is very explainable. 2021, we had a hint of this butting of heads last year about the start of the season last year, if you remember. About trying to get the 162. They didn't want to agree on that in the extra playoff team last year. That should have been one of those warning signs saying, you know what, these guys are pretty dug in. It seems like there doesn't seem like there is any wiggle room here per se. And Billy, you and I, we're kind of the outliers of our generation that really love the sport, that really do a lot of stuff about the sport on our own time. We're the outliers. The generation behind us, maybe 25% of those people care about baseball, maybe. But are they taking their kids to the ballpark? We're talking about the next generation that's not getting to the ballpark.
They can't afford to. They can't afford to.
And there's no desire. They're not being brought there to even have the game become part of their heart. They're not there. They're on their video games or doing whatever else there is, but they're not going to the ballpark. So again, you're talking about our generation, about the last ones that are diehards. The next generation, you're really cut. And then you're talking about another generation that's really not brought up on baseball at all, except video game wise. What do you do?
Well,
don't you have to be visionary enough to know, man, we're on the edge already?
I know. And I graduated magna cum laude from Texas Tech University. But if you named me commissioner right now, Commissioner Martin would have taken care of this. At that last moment, I'd have said, all right, you guys are okay with this, right? We're okay with this. Agree on all the points we could, right? That we got agreed. The ones we couldn't, let's roll back to same plan we had in 2019 or 16 agreement. And we're starting the season on time, spring training on time. We're not playing any of these games, and we're going to get this crap done behind closed doors. And like I say, make them meet mandatory meetings every torture leaders. You have to sit and get this damn thing done, and they will. They'll finally get through it and get past it and get moving forward, because how do you can then we put a salary cap not on players or luxury taxes, but on ticket prices, what it costs for a family to go to a ball game. When you and I were kids, it was just like going to a movie, and that was fun. Any family could afford it. Now, for a family of 4 or 5, it's a damn car payment. And
just a part,
just not everybody wants to do that. It's not worth going to spend $300-400 for one night's entertainment.
Well, the baseball commissioner has been bastardized since Bart Giamatti passed, unfortunately. It's been kind of, the players think that the commissioner's always been in the hip pocket of the owners. Unfortunately, the baseball players for the last 130 years have taken it in the shorts from the ownership. They've owned rights for them. They've limited their salaries for so long that there's a lot of resentment, albeit some of it to me is not warranted, but there is some resentment as they are the enemy. And this is really the only sport where both the owners and the players don't like each other. They're absurd. They are enemies towards each other. So when you try to get into an environment of trying to work, your vision is tainted on what you want instead of the vision of what's best for the game. And that's why I thought a mediator would have been perfect for this, an unbiased party, somebody that knows the law, can look at all the facts, can go through this and put his research team and say, hey, this, and maybe that would have got people off the fence. But one thing got in the way, Billy. Effing pride. Pride got in the way.
Pride and ego. Yep. Absolutely. Even if they couldn't decide on a mediator, how about get a group together? How about get a group of baseball people? Take somebody from each field. Take a former coach, a former player, a former agent, a former general manager.
What about Peter Euro? Somebody like that knows what the television and all that other stuff is kind of, just throw some ideas off of his head.
Right. Just have a committee that sit and goes over this stuff with them and gives them ideas, because they're not caught up in the puffed up, we got to win. Everything's got to be a W. And they actually care about the game and want it to happen. I mean, Manfred needs that anyways. He's got no feel for the damn game. We saw the way he botched the whole Babe Ruth award situation and what he did and how he dishonored the great Willie Mays, thinking he was doing something smart.
The Astros situation, the trophy, talking about the trophy, the World Series trophy, just I mean, he's a Harvard attorney. He's a great deal maker. Don't get me wrong. That's his strength. But from a public relations part, he's awful. I mean, he's sporting a bet. He's sporting a zero right now. And that conference that he had yesterday, I almost felt bad for him because he knew he was going to get his ass kicked and he had no answers for any of them. And I've never seen Manfred so uncomfortable in front of a mic before instead of yesterday. And I go, maybe that's good, because maybe it was an eye opener to say, hey, the players are pretty dug in on some situations, on some things. Obviously, the owners are dug in on some things. We're going to have to get these guys to say, all right, if we're going to make a deal, it's going to have to hurt both sides. The players are mad, and you know this as well as I do. The players, the last two contracts, CBAs they've signed, they've taken it in the shorts. It's padded the owner's pockets on that. So they're mad about that. Tony Clark is not a negotiator. Tony Clark's not a deal maker. And they had Donald Fear 3 times ago on that one contract. And guess what? The players did pretty good. So they're thinking, hey, it's been about a good decade and a half that we've taken in the shorts. It's time for the owners to take one. And the owners ain't buying it. And as I told my buddy today, do you think who can survive longer without money? Reinsdorf, Cohen, the Steinbrenners, or that guy that's the 4th outfielder for the Twins? Sooner or later, there's going to be a cost. They're going to say, hey, mama needs to eat.
Absolutely. You know what? And they're even more people like us that are involved in the game, they get even harmed the most by this. Not just agents, but people that work at the ballpark, that work at the spring training sites, the people that do shoe contracts and glove contracts and have all kinds of marketing deals going on. In the 94 strike, I was representing the Texas Ranger manager, Kevin Kennedy, at the time, and I produced his television show, The Scoop with Kevin Kennedy. I had another 13 episodes sold out. I was counting on that money, Kenny.
Absolutely.
Didn't get any of it, and the players are still going to get, the Players Association has saved up money for them, and they're still going to get stuff, be okay. Most of them, you're right, those end of the roster guys aren't. And
69% of the people of the players are making less than $1 million. Now,
Absolutely.
I mean, $700,000 or $800,000. I'm not going to call them poor, but I mean that's a lot of people you're talking about that are not making those multi-million year contracts that I think the media and everybody kind of focuses on. That guy that's the 25th and the 26th guy on the team, he's making the minimum, which that was $535K with the old agreement.
Well,
yes.
and think about this. Baseball players have to pay tax in every city and state they play in. It's prorated. So, everybody wants
that's maybe half the money he gets to keep. Maybe
right.
half of that.
Maybe. When they leave tickets for somebody, they have to pay tax on half of that ticket price. I mean, Clinton started that years ago. I mean, everybody wants a piece of these guys because everybody thinks they're all these multimillionaires, and most of them are not. Most of them are blue collar guys just hoping to get 5 or 6 years in the show.
Absolutely.
So that maybe they can get a pension.
Right.
It's tough, man.
And that's one of the reasons why I think when Max Scherzer's speaking, I wonder how much of that is Max Scherzer speaking or how much that is Scott Boras speaking through Max Scherzer at the time, which convinces other players that he's right, which still is not the benefit of the major population. The other 800 players in Major League Baseball that, they're sweating jobs. They're sweating day to day, wondering if they're going to get sent down or traded or outright waived. So you got a small sector that's calling all the shots, and they're the ones that can survive it because they've made their multi-millions on millions on millions on millions. Are they leaving it a better game? You and I both have talked about this for the last 3 or 4 months. The game's getting worse. It hasn't gotten better in a long, long time. I thought after the steroid era, we're going to clean things up. I thought we'd get back to pitching. Remember, that was a big thing. The pitchers were getting rocked all the time. Pitchers started making outs again, but that was because the batter's approach was completely different. We wanted to pay the guy to hit 40 home runs and bat at 225, $10, $11 million a year. So what happened? That guy that was going opposite field said, "The heck with this, I'm going to work on my launch angles." It's made it a worse game. The shift made it a worse game because nobody wants to go the other way. So I want to just ask Major League Baseball one question. When are we going to get better? Just tell me when we're going to get better. I know it's $1 million question. I know it's a question that'll never be answered, but it's simple to me. Make the game better. Ben, I don't need 30 seconds between every damn pitch so you can rearrange your batting gloves, kick off your cleats. I don't need all that. I don't need walk-up music and all that other crap. I really don't. I just want the game back. Give me the game from the 80s. I'm fine with it. From the 80s. I'm good with it.
Yeah, me too. I love the game back then. It's funny you say that. I was talking to one of my former clients, who has 1,000 batting average in the major leagues. By the
Nice.
way, he was 1 for 1.
Never be beat.
And when he was coaching at Duncanville High School several years ago, he and Brandon Fahey were the coaches there. And
Yeah, I remember Faye.
they had a terrible team. They knew they were terrible. So they made their pitchers work so ridiculously fast because they thought, you know what, this will give us an advantage. Nobody else is doing this. These hitters won't be ready. You know, they talked to every umpire before the game and said, you want this to end quick? Let our guys work. They're going to work faster than anybody you've ever seen in your life. He said they had a 7-inning game that lasted 57 minutes.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. And the other side wasn't doing what they were doing. So thinking both sides were doing it. I mean, there are ways to make the game better. And obviously I'm an agent. I should be for the Players Association here, and I am. But I can step back and put myself in the owner's shoes too. Because if you think about it for a minute. If that was your team, you owned it, right? And it was your father's and his father before him. And it's your company. It's your business. You know, when do the inmates get to run the asylum? I mean, I can see their point. I can see them wanting to dig in. I mean, I get it. I get both sides. That's why they have to have a mediator, or they have to, like I say, rock, paper, scissors, figure this stuff out and go, trade blows, do something.
The pissing contest should have been over in December. We had a lot of that, and it should have been over then. It should have been, you know what would have been great, and what
if they addressed it all season long.
Yes, all season long, we could have gotten this done, and silently behind closed doors where nobody knows about it. And at the end of the World Series, that you had all that hype going in, goodwill, you come out and say, here's an agreement. That way you have the winter meetings, all the stuff that would have went the straight exactly way, and you could have said, hey, baseball finally sheds a good light on itself. Son of a gun, that sun is shining on our heads and we can stick our chest out a little bit. But we're the only damn sport from Corona that's missing games because of an agreement, labor agreement.
Yep, it's terrible.
It's asinine to me. I wanted to tell people so they would know. Here was the prior deal. The minimum was $535K a year in the old CBA. It was getting moved up to $700K with this new one, which I believe is like an 18% or 20-something% increase, which is damn good in this environment because I don't see a whole lot of people getting raises in this COVID land.
No,
I just don't. Then there's this pre-arbitration pool, which is going to be new. They're going to put the owners are going to put $30 million into this for all the people that win Rookie of the Year, or if you won MVP or Cy Young or these kind of awards, and they would get awarded to these young guys with low service time, 2, 3, 4 years. That's free money. It wasn't there last year. So that's where the owners are putting in. Now it's $30 million to the owners. I know it's a drop in the bucket, but it's something. It's something. I don't want to minimize that. Then this, what we call the CBT threshold. That is the collective, the collaborative bargaining tax, the luxury tax. It was at 195 million last year. They were going to start it off at 220 with the new agreement. And then it was going to go up each year in the agreement. Each year was going to go up a little bit. That's not bad. It's not bad. And they did not do the floor where they're going to make the Pirates spend $100K. You know, they were going to make the Orioles spend $100K, which was rumored belonged for a while, that they wanted to lease all these teams. Now, the one thing about this is what I did hear earlier today, and Billy, this would be you could talk me through this a little bit. The Pirates had a $55 million payroll last year, or 54 something. They got more money coming in from revenue sharing, the TV, the national TV market, and media rights than their payroll. That's not selling one ticket, one hot dog, not one parking spot, and that's not including their local media TV contract.
Right.
So I understand that people are upset about that because they're thinking, well, hey, you made all these trades. You brought back 21 minor leaguers last year back in here. You guys made a profit last year when I took it in the shorts because I didn't make any money because of Corona. You know, so I see why there's some animosity there on that part. But let me ask you this, Billy. This is the question. If I'm the Pirates, do you think if I spent 20 more million last year, it was going to make any difference in the win-loss record?
Nope.
No. Maybe 2 games, 3 games, still get you getting the number 1 pick in the draft or battling it with the Rangers. I mean, so why make you spend money for the same results?
Nope.
I
don't get that either. But there are so many whys like that. Why do kids from the Dominican and Venezuela and Panama and the Bahamas get to sign free agent contracts for millions of dollars
16 and 15
when a good old kid from Oklahoma has to be subject to the draft? And why are American kids punished by that process? They need to either all be free agents or all be subject to the draft. And there are so many things like that need to be addressed. You know, the universal DH.
If I heard today that was an agreement was that we're going to have the universal DH, which you and I both know that was going to give another 16 jobs, and pretty much that's going to be a decent high-paying job on average, you know, because, I mean, your top-end guys are going to make a lot of money, but I understand they're going to fill in the DH every now and then with some minimum wage guys or $1 million guy. I get that part of it. But again, that is going to be an influx of money, but those jobs, I mean, you know, there's no question Nelly Cruz sticks around for a couple more years because of that. Now he's got the Dodgers or somebody else that can bid on his services, not just the American League. So that does create, which they want. They want people bidding on players. They want teams bidding on them. That's what it is. They want a free market, but you don't share the revenue. You can't do it that way. You know, the Dodgers are not going to share their money from their TV contract with the Kansas City Royals.
No, they're not.
Not going to happen. It's a great story. There's a great steak shop in Cleveland, Ohio. Okay, that's great. But I guarantee you there's 15 better ones in Long Island, New York. It's just the way it is because of population. Cleveland will never generate New York money. New York, so you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways.
And you can take the other side of that too. Cleveland doesn't have to pay the rent that New York does.
No.
You know, they don't have to pay the taxes New York does. I mean, the Guard Indians have it a little better there.
That's right. Excuse me.
But you know, it's kind of, I mean, that's part of it. And that's where each owner gets a pat on the back for owning the team he does in whatever market he's in.
And that's why I said you can't really compare the two labor agreements from the other sports, because the other sports, they share in the profits. They share in everything in their national, you know, the TV markets, media rights, and all that other stuff. So I think that there is more of a, hey, we're in this together bed, but you've got 32 different identities in baseball. I mean, for lack of saying something else, that's really what it is. And they're not on the same level. It's just there's no way of getting around it. Now in the NBA, yes, the Celtics are always going to be deemed the creme of the creme, but they're not any more better than Charlotte now because of a salary cap, and they're sharing money. That gives you a competitive advantage. The NFL got to that. Who would have ever thought the Cincinnati Bengals would be in the Super Bowl?
Huh.
I mean, they were the worst run organization for 2 decades. And here they are in the Super Bowl because we have a balance. And that's what baseball wants, but they don't want to give up the freedom to get it.
No.
And it's
They want to, but they don't want to make some changes, but they want to make others. They're okay with this change and that change. Even the DH. I'm sorry, I love the difference. I love to watch a National League game and see the pitchers hit, just like I love watching an American League game and seeing the DH. And I love hearing the arguments. Oh, I wish they all had DHs, or I wish they had none. I think that was good for the game.
Double switches, baby.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to eliminate that too with the universal DH.
Yes, we are. And,
well, hey guys, we do want to appreciate you listening to us, and we appreciate you subscribe to us on Rumble and Anchor and YouTube, and please do that for us, man. We really would greatly appreciate that. It takes less than 10 seconds to do, and when you go to Rumble, just like us there on our pods there also on Rumble, just hit the little thumbs up. We'd appreciate that also, because this is what we want to do for you guys. We have a great time doing this, and we're not asking for donations or any of that other kind of stuff. But if you can do that, that would really help us out a lot. I know we could talk about this CBA forever, but the other bombshell that baseball dropped on us the other day was Mr. Derek Jeter stepping down as commander-in-chief of the Florida Marlins. I was floored, but then when I saw that prepared statement that Jeter read out to us, there's some animosity there, and it seems like that there were some lines. There were some lines drawn in the sand, and Jeter said, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm out the door. We're packing. We're out of sunny South Beach, Miami." And Ben, Billy, that caught me way off guard, buddy.
Me too. Because first of all, when he did this deal, it was so Steinbrenner-esque that, and I know we've talked about this before, but George Steinbrenner, when he bought the New York Yankees, he was looking to buy a football team. He had a chance at the Cleveland Browns, and
yes, sure did.
People talk about him being how he over-medaled, and the guy like Jerry Jones over-medaled. George Steinbrenner coached football at 2 high schools and at Purdue and Northwestern University. Think what he'd have been as an NFL owner. I mean,
him and Al Davis.
Oh, he'd have elbowed Al Davis. Get out of here. He'd have been on the field. John Madden would have had to tackle him. I mean, it would have been awesome. But he put a group together because he stumbled upon the Yankees being for sale for $10 million. Okay.
CBS.
I think it was about $5 billion now.
CBS.
But he only used $155,000 of his own dollars to be principal owner of the New York Yankees. I mean, think about that. That shows you what kind of businessman he is right there. Okay. So Derek Jeter spends $25 million of his own dollars in the purchase of the Marlins. And I don't know what percentage that bought him of the club, but regardless, he then made himself, or they made him, the top dog of the Marlins with a salary of $5 million per year. And isn't it ironic that he waits till his 6th year to cash in his chips? Says 5 times 6 is 30 million. Wait, so he got his investment back. Oh, and he sold his shares of stock.
Yes. Yeah, he did.
Before he made his announcement.
Yep.
So he sold all that, then came up with his announcement. Now I've heard several different stories. I heard one that the ownership group was disappointed because they wanted him to be more of a face of the franchise and do more things around the city and be involved in Glad Hand a little bit. I've also heard that he was upset that, like you and I talked about pre-show, he wanted to go out and sign some bats. They shut that down. I'm hearing lots of stuff, so hopefully I'll get to the bottom of this eventually, because yeah, that's a weird one for me. I don't get it. I don't know where it really went wrong, but I want to find out. What happens? Does Donnie stay there? Does what's next? Because something's going to be next.
And think about on his watch, he's had to make a couple tough calls there. He had to get rid of Andre Dawson and Greg Vaughn, who were kind of working as, liaisons for the Marlins. They finished their careers there. And so they were big in the public relations. He had to let those guys go when he first got there because there wasn't money to pay them anymore. You think about Donnie Baseball also, bringing him over there to the reins over there. He had to go through the death of Mr. Hernandez, the pitcher. I think he's and what he had a 5-year plan. And, if you think about it, just 2 years ago, they were in the playoffs. Now, I know that was a 60-game season. I understand it was COVID, but there was progress. He had to also institute that new stadium. He was, when that new stadium was being built. So you could see steps, but I'm with you, Billy. I think there's more behind the scenes of what's going on. And it sounds like to me that there was a structure that was saying that this is what we were going to do with this plan. And I don't know if they tried to hide behind it with COVID. Don't know if they tried to hide behind it because the CBA wasn't done. I'm not sure. Maybe those are legitimate reasons why the organization came out and said these things. I'm not privy to that. But whatever it was, it happened quickly, because why would you announce that the day of that we think we might get a CBA? Right. So obviously there were some harsh words and some frustration that came to a point where you could say it's not a rash decision. You could say it was pretty quickly, a hotted decision. Any way you look at it, the game of baseball got worse because he's not in baseball. It's a better sport when Derek Jeter's in it. There's a lot of people call him one of the most overrated Hall of Fame players of all time and all that when we were hearing about the Hall of Fame talk, a few months ago. All I'm going to say is that guy's a competitor. And so if you get people that compete, that's better for the game. They're not going to sit and rest on their laurels. And if you can make the Marlins competitive, that tells me you got something, because Marlins are about competitive once every 12 years and they win a World Series and then they tear everything down. So
no, and you can say what you want about. I've heard people say that about Derek Jeter too. It makes me laugh. He leads the New York Yankees in hits all time. The New York Yankees, who have more Hall of Famers than any team there is, okay? His World Series batting average is significantly higher than his regular season batting average, okay? To me, that's what a champion's all about. All that guy's done is win. Besides being a Rookie of the Year, like I say, a World Series hero, World Series MVP, all that stuff. He was a class act. Never got in trouble.
Said 20 years of no in trouble and a bachelor in New York City. And let's go on and say this. He was a half decent looking guy.
Oh my God. Come on, man. He was a rock star. He was an A-ball.
I mean, you couldn't keep Reggie Jackson there for a New York minute without having some kind of controversy. He did it
Absolutely.
for 2 decades. And I mean, I mean, from a PR perspective, that's a big hit for the Marlins. I mean, for Florida. I keep calling the Marlins. I apologize. But yeah, I mean, that's a big hit. I mean, you can't sugarcoat that. You can say, you can try to save face with that, but that's a big hit because you don't have much. I mean, when you think about the history of Florida, you think about those 2 World Series championships, but you hardly know any of the people that were on it because they were out the door before this next season started. So, I mean, there is no history. I mean, I think I think of Florida, I think of Charlie Huff opening day, the first time at the Joe Robbie Stadium. That's about it. Him and Jeff Conine, and I mean, other than that, I mean, I know Miguel Cabrera started there. I know he was there. I mean, here's a Hall of Famer, but he's probably not going to wear your uniform when he goes to the Hall of Fame. So, I just, any way you look at it, it was bad. It was bad PR, and I know baseball didn't want to have that announcement come, especially that day, knowing all the CBA was coming out, almost a double whammy in a way, PR wise.
Yep, and it'll be neat when we find out the rest of the story.
Yes, I can't wait for the rest of the story because, man, that's going to be great.
Something interesting about all this, there are guys that benefit from it a little bit. And I've got some clients that signed minor league contracts with major league camp invites.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what that means is they sign a split contract, right? You agree to a minor league number, you agree to a major league number, and they go to camp, to big league camp, trying to make the team.
Sure.
Well, there's an advantage for those guys because they're in camp right now, working out every day. The minor leaguers are in camp, working out every day. So they're all getting to see the staff and get looks that they wouldn't normally get. But it's going to give those guys a little, when they do get their crap together and get this thing going, those guys that have been in camp this whole time are going to obviously be much farther ahead. But it's not going to matter to the Bryce Harpers of the world who are locked in, but it's going to matter to these guys that are big leaguers that have options, but that aren't guaranteed to make the team, right? So, what do they do?
Some of those middle relievers, some of those 4th and 5th outfielders, your 3rd string catcher, those guys that can still go in and get some work out. And here's another thing I will tell you is, remember last year when they did do the spring training in Arizona and everything? Remember how hot it was in the month of March last year? Imagine if this thing goes on for another month or so. Can you imagine doing those spring training games in Arizona in late April? Or, it's going to be hot. And I mean, you and I both know when you get overheated, that also has a tendency to cause injuries because you try to fight through it when you should probably just rest. But you got a limited schedule and time to get all of your stuff done now because of that. And the last hit I would say on that is 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson on April 15th this year. Yep. We may not have any game. How do you celebrate that day without a damn game? I don't think Branch, Rickey, and Jackie ever thought we'd be fighting over millions of dollars in service years for what they did.
No way. That'd be a great goal. To try to make sure we get the game played for that day. Although, to be real honest, for so many years, April Fool's was opening day, right? Which I love. And I've always felt like April 2nd should be Jackie Robinson Day, because that's 4-2. And his number was 42. I mean,
can you imagine what the celebration was going to be at Dodger Stadium this year if they had a home game for that day? I mean, how many people would have watched, just not even a fan of the game, that would have just turned on the TV just to see the celebration and what it was all about. I mean, you've got to try your best to try to have some active game for that day, because I think if you don't, it's going to bring a lot of attention to the game, but then you're going to wake up on the 16th and go, we don't have ball game.
Nope.
And it takes away all the great press and goodwill that you had the day before. I mean, again, it's baseball stubbing its toe, putting both feet in his mouth. It's, you know, all the metaphors you want to put out there for baseball, it's there. I was thinking of doing a thumbs up and thumbs down, but I think you already know what the thumbs down is. You know, it's the entire baseball world.
I think it's giving the finger down.
You know, I think that's just the easiest way to say it. You know, I mean, yeah. You know, anyway, hopefully it's not May 1st, you know, hopefully it's not a half a season, whatever it may be. I'm not going to be one of those guys that say I'm never going to watch the game and not going to go to the game and all that. I think that goes on deaf ears. I think when it's July 22nd and there's nothing on TV and, you know, the Ranger game's on or the Yankee game is on, I'm going to be watching. I'm not going to, you know, and maybe baseball's counting on more people like me saying, hey, you know, this guy's going to come back regardless of how long we stay out. Maybe they are, but I'll tell baseball this: there's not many me. There's not many me. You're overestimating that for sure. And I said, we knew what it was like to, you know, when COVID hit, to not have to watch sports in baseball in May and June and April. I mean, we've already had a test run with this not too long ago.
No,
so,
and some fans did not come back.
No,
you know,
no.
Some fans did not come back from that because they just realized, I don't need it. I don't miss it. I'd rather watch Netflix, whatever.
Watch
what
my
is
kids
this?
play.
This angers fans and makes them do this, and not what we need right now.
Nope. Well, we'll leave you guys with that. We know we've been going long with the pods here, so we want to keep it try around 40, 45 minutes. So, but Billy, you know, hey, I wish we could have came in wish we both would have came here and jumped around and had our baseball jerseys on, and pine tar and a big chaw in the mouth. You know,
little eye black, you
know, flip them in batting gloves. I thought we might kick up some dirt, but you know what? All we ever did was we got dirt kicked in our face again. So, you know, hopefully these meatheads on both sides will come to some kind of agreement, or a moderator will come in and try to do this and get things facilitated towards an agreement. Sooner the better. I'm not near as optimistic now that we are going to miss the first two series. I have a feeling that you're going to add to that because they're not meeting. So you're not going to get an agreement. Everybody's at home and said, all right, took my ball home. Nobody's playing. You know, so.
When they wake up in the morning and go, what think we got agreement today?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Go meet, get some work done.
Yeah. Yep.
Leg wrestle, do what you got to do. Come on.
Yeah. So us being in the Metroplex, I will make sure to get over to some Frisco Rough Rider games. You know, I'll try to get over to Cleveland maybe and see a little series over there. Maybe the Monarchs will be coming into town and I get to see my buddy Danny Mon over there. And, you know, hey, I don't mind. I mean, as long as it's baseball to me, I'll watch it. I will watch it, and I don't mind making the drive out there. And at least when I know I go out there to go see Cleveland, I just might have to just bring my debit card instead of a credit card to enjoy the game. You know?
I get to talk to the players. Yeah.
I don't have to worry about saying, oh gosh, man, I'm gonna put this on credit card. I don't have enough cash on me, you know, to buy this hot dog. But anyway, we do appreciate you listening to us. We will be back next week with episode number 25. Thank you so much, Billy. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I'll see you next week, buddy.
Absolutely.